Hello, this is professional dog trainer Brett Endies. Gonna do a video talking about how I became a dog trainer. I get a lot of people will ask me, clients, like, well, how did you end up doing this? Why, how did you become where you're in front of me now helping me with like my dog's aggression? Like, where did you learn this? What made you decide to take that career path? So I'll talk about it, right? So as a little kid, ever since, I can remember, we had dogs, but I always was like drawn to animals, pets. We had hamsters, we had parrots, cats, dogs having puppies, hamsters having litters. It was like a mini zoo at our house. And it was also, I had my grandfather who also loved animals and can kind of see that in me. And he would like babysit for me and take me to like animal shelters, and we just would bring home stray dog, like random dogs from the shelter. And some of them had to go back, but there were a couple that ended up being my childhood dogs. And it was just a thing. And also just me, I always struggled socially, whether it be with other kids. When I was a kid, I got along with adults, but not all adults, but most of them. And other kids, even now, like anyone my peer, it was always like I had a select limited group of people I connected with in the human realm. But animals, it was never that. I was always most comfortable around them. I felt like I understood them. I kind of got them. They seemed to get me. And it was just a thing. And the only real career path at that time is basically like becoming a veterinarian. That was, if you're going to go to college, which was kind of the way, where I grew up, that was the path. And I unfortunately never really had the emphasis of math and sciences. My parents never really enriched that in me. It was just funny how they wanted education, but they never really did anything to help facilitate education. So when I went to college, it ended up where I just didn't have the right science. And if you know my story recently, I did get accepted and went back to go towards getting back to vet school, and I had to withdraw because of life circumstances. But it was always a thing, right? So that's what you're kind of thinking, but you're not putting much thought. You're like, well, you're going to get a regular job and you'll just own dogs, or maybe, and there wasn't even like dog. In New York City, you heard of like those dog walkers back in like the late 80s, early 90s, but it wasn't like a thing. It was like, oh, that's in Manhattan. But what I thought was maybe that could work in Long Island, because there's plenty of people who they work in Manhattan and they're gone all day and they need someone to come let their dogs out, especially they're like pretty far away and they take commuter trains, so something could go wrong. So there must be a need for this. Or even when they travel, coming 3-4 times a day to care for the dog. And there was, right? And it actually was something I started at 19. And I was going back to school because the freshman year I dropped out, took a semester off. Then when I went back and I was working at a vet clinic thinking I'm going to become a veterinarian, getting that experience in those hours. But I started the pet sitting business because I wanted to, I could do that part-time while I still worked at the vet and went to school. And little did I know there was a demand for it. So it really picked up pretty quickly in the town where I grew up, Syosset, Long Island, in that area. There's a few towns connected to it, and those people do have financial means, and they wanted to hire me, and it was pretty cool. Now, compared to now, I was definitely undercharging. I definitely thought I was making more money because I was used to, at the time, $12 an hour, $10 an hour jobs, even working at vet clinics as a kid. So this was huge. I can get my own apartment. I remember the first time I had $1,000 in my name. It was in my account, my bank account. It said $1,000, and I couldn't imagine seeing 4 numbers on the account. Even now, sometimes I guess it'll be, but it really was like, so I remember that moment. It was like in the late 90s. I had my pet sitting going for like a year or something, and it was happening. And I was taking care of it was New York critter sitter. I was taking care of birds, cats, dogs. So I really got a lot of exposure to all different animals. It was pretty cool. That evolved into wanting to, and the issue I was having was come holidays. And even just some days I couldn't take days off where other people did. So weekends I was busy, holidays. So I remember I would be going all over to everyone's house, letting the dogs out. I had this obligation, a very strong sense. It's like I'm the only one who's caring for them. And like you get a snowstorm, it was a lot of stress. But more than that, I was missing out on like holidays and stuff. And that started to become a bummer after a couple of years. I was like, well, this is important to me. I'm not with family or friends. So I thought, well, I still want to work with dogs. The vet thing is now not really a possibility. I wasn't even in school because I was just full-on dog sitter, dog walker. I was making money. I was like, let me just do the business thing, forget school. So I looked into it, and I had seen, like, if anyone remembers Uncle Matty, he used to be back on one of those morning shows, and he'd do like a dog training segment. Captain Haggerty. There was just some, like, when you were I was in, like, you know, the periphery because I was a dog walker, and there was no internet or nothing, so you're not just communicating with people all over the world who do what you do. You're in your own little bubble. You don't know. But, you know, you watch TV and you see these things, see some books. So I thought maybe a dog trainer, maybe even like part-time, even if I train like a dog a month while I'm doing pet sitting, I could kind of, you know, segue into something like that more and maybe give myself breaks on holidays and whatnot. So I went to the Academy of Canine Education in Fresh Meadows, New York. That's Queens. And it was from Anthony Girone. He was a professional dog trainer. I think he's still around. He must be very old now because he was probably in his 40s at the time. And it's like the mid-90s. We're talking like 95, I think it was. So it was like, I think it was like 2-3 months. You go to do the classroom, you shadow him in his client sessions, and he was a mobile, so he would go to people's houses. And then he did a drop-in group class. That's where I got that model for my classes, that he would have both his clients, and I think he offered it for free to people who would show up. Now there's just too many damn reactive dogs. There weren't that many dogs with reactivity back then. They were just like pulling on the leash or didn't sit when you told them. But it wasn't like, if you had 20 unrelated reactive dog owners showing up to this park and you never worked with a trainer, that's going to be chaos because you don't know what to do and the trainer doesn't know you or your dog. So I think it was different then, but it was, again, the model I do now, where my existing clients who are working with me can come into and drop into the class to work side by side, especially if they have a reactive dog. It's really helpful. So I did that. I went through Anthony's program, and then while I was doing that, I was still walking dogs. So I had a lot of dogs to practice, and that was what I think was my leg up versus there was like maybe 5 or 6 people in the class, and quite honestly, I don't think any of them ended up becoming professional dog trainers or, you know, lasting as long as I did. This is 30 years now since then. But yeah, I had all these dogs to practice with, and I already had the confidence of interacting with dog owners because I already knew how to develop and service clients because of the pet sitting business. So I really had that really help me. And I was able to practice, get really good at handling quickly, because whatever I learned in Anthony's shadow, you know, lessons, or when he was teaching class, I could go apply it right away and get the hands-on, like 3 times more per, you know, instance than my existing you know, classmates. So I became pretty good at it quickly. I really got to understand it, and I started actually branching into like, hey, I'm walking your dog. I think you could have some, you know, leash walking help. Would you like to do a training session with me? And I'll tell you, one day, I think I've talked about it, it's like my first session. Oh my God, I don't think a human can sweat so much when it's not hot out. I was so nervous because I was like, oh my God, these people are paying me, and like, this isn't just walking their dog. I've got to make their dog listen, and it was crazy. But I made it happen. It's funny, that house exists in Plainview, New York. It's near my mother's house, actually, and I'll drive by there from like visiting. I was there visiting like not that long ago, and I drove by, and I was like, oh man, deja vu and memories flood you when you did. I remember it. I'll never forget that first session. Oh my God, every second of it was like so intense. So I started doing that. Now, at the time, they didn't have internet, so you would advertise. I made flyers. I did that for my pet sitting business too. I made flyers. You would do yellow page ads, which is the phone book. You would do local circular ads. They call them penny savers, where, you know, they still have them, like your little coupon books and stuff. And you would do like a little ad. You pay for a 1/4 page ad, 1/8 of a page ad, half page, whatever. Why? You got people to know. Now, hiring a dog trainer was not that common a thing, and there was not that many people who had dogs with behavior issues like today. It's like there's not that many as many people with psychological issues as today. I also think that dog ownership has become more popular. People are treating their dogs more human, you know, good and bad ways, but they are spending more money, and they are willing to invest in their pets the way they would invest in their own children, with, you know, whatever it is, from medical care all the way to therapeutic services. It was a tough go, right? So I would be able to eke out a living, but had to complement it with the dog walking pet sitting business. And then after a few years, I was able to do mostly dog training. I said, of course, me, Mr. Never Satisfied, I want to still be a veterinarian. Let me go back to school. So this is now, we're about 10 years, almost 10 years in. So it was like the early 2000s, 2003, 4. And I was back in school doing dog walking, doing training when I could. And it was a community college back in New York. And I met my daughter's mother. And not planned, but we had my daughter. School had to get put on the back burner there. I did get my Bachelor of Science degree. That's why I have my psychology degree. But at the time I had to focus on her. So again, what was nice is that I could schedule, like I couldn't do dog walking anymore because the demands of her, I couldn't like commit to like days and times, but I could for like hour sessions for clients, and I could schedule them because my daughter's mother and I, we weren't really together raising my daughter. So we shared custody, and what I could do is actually be the daycare when my daughter's mother had to work. And then when I would work, her mother could watch her at night when she was done with her job, right? She worked during the day. So I'd see clients at nights, weekends, things like that. And I just pushed along. It was always a struggle. When my daughter was like 4 or 5, I opened up a dog daycare and a kennel. That was really hard because I just couldn't get staff to like run it. I'm not good at managing people. I'm really not. So I just couldn't get them to, I would always get calls like, Brett, you got to come in. It's like, I'm here with my daughter. It's a 1 day off this month. So that way, I had to close shop on that. That was hard. I sold it actually. It was a nice place though. I put a lot of effort and time and money into it. Built it really nice. Like it was a behavior-based daycare and kennel in outskirts north of Denver, Colorado. Quick fun fact: the band The Fray, that song "Save a Life," that's a famous song. Fray, F-R-A-Y. They were my neighbors. They very nondescriptly had their studio, at least at the time, was in this industrial park in just North Glen, Denver. And I started training. I still didn't know who they were. I'm like, what do you guys do over there? You guys like this young dudes, you're kind of hanging out smoking cigarettes, and like you have like all these nice cars coming through. Like, what's going on there? And it's like, you want to see? And I'm not into that kind of music, so I still had like never heard of them. And then I'm like, what do you got? You guys professional? Like, it was obviously a professional music studio. It was crazy. And then you see their albums. I was like, The Fray. So the internet, I looked it up. I was like, he shows up the next day because his dog would come to my daycare, and I'm like, this is crazy, dude. So Joe King, right? If you know The Fray, you know Joe King. Isaac, and then Welsh, Rob, not Rob, the basic, with the glass. I trained his and his wife's dogs too. I just forgot. I'm drawing a blank name. But anyway, The Fray. So anyway, did that, closed that, still did the training. Then when I got to be in my late 30s, almost 40, my daughter was doing well. She was almost 10. My career was, again, I was getting by. It was not easy. I was really struggling financially because I couldn't work on generating and keeping clients. My brother, who used to be an actor, he lived in LA. He had some connections, and he had this friend, John Hoffman, who was a producer, and he just knew other people. He was like one of these Hollywood periphery guys, and he had some credits. You could look him up and see he had done some things, so he was legit. And he reached out to me, and he's like, you know what, your brother's been talking about you. I heard about you. Tell me about this dog training thing you do. And he's like, this is crazy. I've never heard anyone talk about dogs like this. Would you be interested in coming to LA, not to move, just to come for a week or two, and we'll shop you around, we'll introduce you to some people and see what you think? Absolutely. And I would come here often anyway because my brother lived here, and I'd come visit him. So it was like within a week or two I came, met John, he took me around. It was a little, the ether, they call it. You get drunk by it, he's meeting me. All these networks, real legit. He had meetings like scheduled. He was shopping me around. Look at this guy. He's a dog trainer, but he's got autism and he sees it differently. But the way he's approaching it is so unique and effective. And his, the way he goes about it, he's very direct and honest. He's not going to just tell clients what they want to hear. You might be interested in it. And they were, but again, I didn't know. I thought it was like, oh, if you're getting shopped around, it's just a formality. They want to meet with you. They want you. You got a deal. No. So that happened for a while, but now I'm like, okay, let me come back to Colorado and just regroup and see. And I realized, and John was, kind of getting, you should come out here and spend more time. I can get you some clients. We'll get you some other things. My wife's a voiceover act. We can get you maybe you have a good voice, some voiceover gigs. Let's do this. So, 40 years old, I basically loaded up a U-Haul. I had an apartment. I lease ended, and I came to LA. And then I ended up staying with, because one of John Hoffman's friends was Eric Roberts, the actor, Julia Roberts, Emma Roberts' dad, Julia Roberts' brother. They live in Sherman Oaks, and they had a guest house over the garage, a guest space over the garage. And they knew I was kind of starting from scratch at 40, and they were really nice. Eliza, Eric's wife's a really nice person, and she basically said, well, we'll let Brett, I met him when you were out here shopping him around. He seems like a nice guy, and he has a cool Rottweiler, and I would love to have a dog on the property, because I had Bowie at the time. So me and Bowie got in the U-Haul. I told my daughter, you know, and this was the hardest part, was like, well, I'm not going to be in Colorado, but I was going back every 2 weeks. And the entire summer she would be here, all the holidays. So I was still involved, but my career, I had to get something going to have consistent income. It wasn't about being famous. It was just I need to make consistent income. And I am a good dog trainer. I have every right to make my living. And that was one thing that I do resent, was that the courts and my daughter's mother, when I was making still a better living than average, they said, well, if you have a college degree, if you went and did a regular job, you had the potential to make even more money, and we expect that from, like, excuse me, this is what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, and not just for my own happiness. I'm helping dogs, and I deserve the full potential to make a living what I choose to do as a free person in this country as anyone else. And I stood my ground, because they were really, it was disgusting. But nonetheless, I started staying in Eric Roberts' guest house, and we're still shopping around. But again, that takes time. Nothing's a guarantee. So I said, you know what? I've got to train dogs, right? Because I would get a client here, people refer me, but a lot of them were favors, so I didn't feel like right for charging them and stuff. So it was a struggle. Now, the Roberts did give me a good deal. That's what I think I was talking about. So they gave me a really good deal on that apartment. So I didn't have to stress. I could figure out how to put together that much money in the worst case scenario every month. And I did. And what I really did was went full, like, balls to the wall. I made flyers, like little flyers I made and printed them out. I had business cards. I made little folders too that I spent money on, like it was like Vistaprint then, and I put like all these little infos and things. I was really putting effort, like articles that I had written, just, you know, and I made a list, and the internet was around, so I would go on and every pet related business in the entire San Fernando Valley and the west sides of the airport, 1,000 of them. I mean, literally, I went wild for like 4 or 6 months. Then I'd make signs. I'd say, okay, I have a few, you know, you get clients trickle in. I still had no money to do anything. I had a website, but no money to like do SEO and that, you know, all that stuff. So it was like, I was advertising on Craigslist. I was getting clients that way. I mean, whatever way. Hustle, making signs, laminating them, hot gluing these little, I'd cut like little business card holder sheets and make just one so it could be like a holder connected to the laminated flyer, and just zip time to dog parks. Come back every week so that if someone tore them down, I could put it back up. Again, that's what started getting me clients and money, where I could then have like signs printed. I had like on the 405 in Wilshire. If you know 405, the Wilshire heading north on the 405, that exit, that's crazy. And I said, fuck this, I'm stopping. I just put my hazards on, and I just jumped out of the car and pop like real estate sign type thing right in the ground there. There's nothing about LA. It's such an unregulated place that like you can just basically, that's why there's so many like unlicensed food vendors. It's like, well, if you're willing to do it, good luck. So I had that on my side. Free group classes. I did the drop-in thing, and it was just chaos, and I stopped. But any way to get a client or two, just to get me to the next day, the next month. And I hustled, and I knew how to do it because I had been doing it for so long, just not full on like I started when I went to LA. And guess what happened? About a year, I started actually having like enough clients where I could like go get a regular apartment with a lease that I didn't have to worry about. Like with the Roberts, I mean, I had a month or two where I was late, and they were like, don't worry about it. Or I had like, look, I can pay rent, but I need a plane ticket to see my daughter. Well, here, just use my points for the plane ticket and give us the rent. Like that kind of shit, right? If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to stick out here long enough to make all this happen. So I'm always in debt to Eliza and Eric Roberts. And Eric has a reputation in this town, I know, but he never did anything to me. Eliza's always been sweet to me, and even recently I've communicated with her. So anyway, so that's got me going, and then I started getting calls regularly. Not like it is now, but it was enough. And then I'd start connecting with the Musk family. Because I started getting a Yelp page out there. So I started getting some positive reviews from the people I'm helping. I would ask for them, right? Because I wanted to establish a foundation here in LA. I loved this place. It wasn't the way I see it now where I have my opinions. I loved it here. It was even just me in Colorado. I felt very restricted in being open and unmasked and free and intense and excited. And because people there like would react to me and say, why are you so aggressive? Why do you say things like that? Why do you question this? Growing up in New York, it wasn't that bad, but here, yes, as much as it's a little over the top, people here let you usually do your thing, right? As long as you're not like, it's hard, but you can do your thing here. So anyway, so yes, I had my business going on, and then certain opportunities. I got to shoot a pilot for Nat Geo Wild, right? I ended up with Cesar Millan's business manager, Josh Hutcherson, the actor. His mother's a friend of mine, Michelle, and she was to this day still someone who's been helpful, and I'll reach out to her for advice and questions. And she connected and kind of looked over my shoulder with this. And again, I thought if you're shooting a pilot, it was a 3-camera pilot. It was 3 days, his house in Topanga, all these people catering. I was the king, the fucking CEO of Nat Geo Wild came to watch and meet me. I'm like, this is it. They're talking about how it's going to be, and wait until you start doing shows overseas in these other markets, and the money you'll never couldn't even imagine. Oh my God, I'm the next dog whisperer. I was slated to replace Caesar. That's why they were doing this. I had the same production team that did Caesar 911. I was like, how much more real can this get, right? And it was just It was just another pilot of many. They had such a big budget that network, it didn't, to me, it was how could they not make this happen with all this? And it was a great pilot. I gotta find it somewhere, but I do have I guess it's the pilot or commercial for it. It was the dog Savant, and it was about, and what they did is they made me act a little bit more like level 2, level 3 autistic, where I was like really struggling. And I don't struggle when I'm with my dogs and clients. And if you're a client, I think you already know this. I'm my way and I'm direct, but that's all pure passion. My autism is just I'm letting myself see shit and be consistent and, a little extra empathetic, but I'm not gonna have a fucking meltdown in a client session unless you're doing something like purposely to me that's not nice, but no one does that. It's a very respectful, very actually positive, loving scenario when I'm working with clients for the most part. And the ones that are outliers, they sometimes have to hear that they're not acting like the rest of them, and I'm not going to tolerate it. So anyway, where was that? I want to stay on track here. See, all these opportunities, the Musk family, I became their dog trainer. You meet people through them. I started working with Mrs. Saperstein, which is another, if you look up the Saperstein family, huge money. She's the husky person, where I used to have all the Beverly Hills musher, and you could see me mushing all these Malamutes and Huskies through Beverly Hills. It was her dogs. I would go there every day. And these people took care of me. I didn't have 5-10 calls a day coming in. I didn't have full days of clients and picking and choose who and when I want to work with them. It was like, I've got I can go to the Musk family for an hour. I can go work with the Huskies, and these people were just so kind to me, and I was doing a good job. I was reliable, helping, giving service and value, but they didn't have to keep me coming back, and they did. And they found it was helpful, and what that did was give me a peace in my mind that when I didn't, because man, when you have a gig-based job and you don't know where the next is coming from because you're not established yet, it's scary. Like, I got to pay my bills, so that was getting help with that. And I was just, again, getting the Nat Geo pilot opportunity. So that, again, let's go back to that. That didn't work out. I was very sad. Even like I had to meet with the producer and, Charles Wachter, you can look him up too, and WACHTR is pretty. Again, these are all legit players in the game. Like, I was like, this is it. This is gonna happen. It was crazy, realer than real. But anyway, as a consolation, very shortly after, I got reached out to by from Jukin Media, which is if you look them up, they do a lot of they used to be more popular, a lot of social media type of internet type of production, and they wanted to do a show called the Untrainables, and we did our interview. Again, whatever you think I am, I'm pretty damn good when it's time to make it count. Look at my live TV appearances. That's where I excel, or in those situations where everyone would shit their pants. Bring it on. I go inward calm and I am zoned in. Woo, look at that. So zoned in, right? That happened. 6 episodes of the Untrainables. Was it 6 or was it 12? I think it's 12. Holy shit. But anyway, it's the Untrainables Facebook Watch. That was my show. Really proud of it. I think it's still a good example of what I do and my personality as a dog trainer. It did not go past the first season, but it was still really, and I really am proud of it. It's a calling card. It shows that I am a professional dog trainer, and you can't take that away from me, because I was good enough to be offered and paid by somebody not related, not connected to me, in this market, which is very competitive for dog trainers, to be the host of that show and put it out there, and their brand and their name and label on it. So That's that. And again, when people say, oh, you don't train dogs, it's like, you asshole. You just are so mentally lazy, you haven't taken the time to go see what I actually do. Because if you did, you'd shut up, because you know damn well you're insane to even make those assumptions about someone who's actually has it sometimes in his career fucking killed it, pinnacle level shit, pinnacle. Anyway, so now here we are. So LA, then COVID happens. That wasn't really great for my business, and I ended up going to Colorado because I just couldn't be in this place. It was too wild here in LA, California, and my daughter lived there, and just in case things went wild, shit hit the fan, I wanted to be closer to her. So I did that. That's why I started doing the Zoom training. I'd done a few like Skype lessons, but this is where I leaned in and really started getting Zoom. And to this day, I do a good portion of my clients I see on Zoom. It works out great. So I did that. I barely survived. I would see clients who were willing to in Colorado. I would go to LA sometimes when things got loosened up, but anyway, I didn't want to go back to California so quick because I'm afraid that could happen again, right? That's just not cool. Anyway, from there, I went to Vegas because I had my girlfriend and I wanted to be able to come back to, I was kind of making my way back to California. So I would come here like 3 days a week. I would go back to Vegas, you know, and it was pretty good because Vegas was an easier lifestyle. I could get a house that I liked for the money, and my girlfriend at the time had a job there, so it all kind of, it's fine. Anyway, did that here. I'm trying because I gotta get off the phone soon. I gotta find my route to my client. But yeah, so that did some time in Alaska because I just needed a break from everything. I ended up building a business there, so I do have a dog training company in Alaska as well now, which is pretty cool. So I go there whenever I want. I can see clients. But I'm here in LA. I've been here for the past year and a half. I am going to be staying here. And yeah, so now where am I at? And I'm going to do another video more in detail because I'd like to start helping other pet related or other just service-based business owners. I have a website that's very well seasoned. I have not a huge social media presence, but I also have a giant referral network. So I get, again, 5-10 calls a day. They're either going to find me anywhere from Google searches, referrals, they see my class, they see a client working with the dog, they hear a rant and they like me. Believe it or not, a lot of the things that people hate me for, that's what attracts my clients. They love it and they think that I'm a genuine, honest person, and it really is a way to filter out people that wouldn't work good with me anyway. So yeah, so it's just, I don't spend any money other than like the costs of like hosting and, you know, all those things from like GoDaddy and whatnot, but I don't do ads. I want to do ads again because I've tried them before, but I want to make sure they're worth it because, you know, if I want to grow and scale up, but I get enough calls to keep me more than busy, just on, you know, my existence in this market for so long and sticking with it. And I really think that's a big part of it, is that I've done a consistent, good, reliable job. I've kept discretion. I've been honest. I've cared. I put a lot of my passion and self into what I do. And it's, you know, people know this. People sense it and people will gravitate towards it if they're the type of conscious, aware, non-mentally lazy person who's the best candidate to be successful when it comes to helping resolve their dog's problem behaviors or meeting their best potential. I'm going to leave it at that because I have to look at my Google Maps now, or I'm going to be lost here on Santa Monica Boulevard. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. If not, like these videos. Go on my website, dogtrainingla.com, for Zoom or in-person training here in Los Angeles. And just reach out to me. I would love to hear from you, how I'm helping you with these videos, and any question or dog related stuff you'd like me to talk about. Thank you so much.